I didn't fall for him. I fell for his mother. And the night she touched me, it ruined everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and myself. It all started with my breakup. Breakups aren't always explosive. Sometimes they end with a whisper instead of a scream. That's how it ended with Liam. No betrayal, no dramatic tears in the rain, just a slow, quiet unraveling that left both of us wondering when the love had slipped through our fingers. The conversations became dull, the kisses felt routine. He stopped asking about my day and I stopped offering the truth. It was mutual in the most painful way. You both know it's not working, but you still look for traces of what once was. By the time we said the words out loud, it already felt like we've been broken up for months. I didn't cry when he walked out of my apartment. I didn't even get angry. I just sat there holding the silence like it was the only honest thing between us, and yet the emptiness that followed still managed to surprise me. The weight of it, the quiet, the way the world didn't stop even though something inside me had. It was supposed to be a clean break, one final visit to return his things, the sweatshirt I never wore but always slept in, the watch he left on my nightstand, the book he never finished reading. I told myself it was closure, just one last trip to the house where too many half-hearted kisses and lukewarm apologies had taken place. I didn't expect to feel anything. I didn't expect to see her either. When the door opened, it wasn't Liam, it was Vivian. Her hair was pinned up in that effortless way she always did, casual but sophisticated, like she could command attention in a grocery aisle. She wore a deep emerald blouse and soft black trousers that hugged her waist with quiet precision. Her eyes flicked to the box in my arms before rising to meet mine. "Oh," she said, blinking like she hadn't expected me either. "You're here." I nodded, awkward, just dropping off some stuff. I didn't know Liam wouldn't be here. She stepped back, holding the door wider. "He left about an hour ago, said something about needing space. Come in, I can take it." I hesitated only a second before stepping inside. The house smelled the same, lemon polish and whatever perfume she always wore that clung to fabric like memory. I placed the box on the hallway table. She looked at it for a beat, then at me. "You okay?" she asked, softer now. I shrugged. "We broke up." She offered a small smile, not the celebratory kind, something quieter, almost sad. I figured. I guess I should have seen it coming. I added more to myself. Vivian tilted her head. "It's not your fault. You know Liam well. He's always been a little careless with hearts." Her words hit me like an unexpected truth I didn't realize I'd been craving. I turned to leave, suddenly wanting to escape before I let something slip. My disappointment, my regret, or worse, the way I sometimes caught myself thinking about her instead of him. "Wait," she said gently, "would you like some tea before you go?" I shouldn't have said yes, I know that now, but I did. She led me to the kitchen, the one with the marble island and two clean wine glasses hanging above everything. About Vivian had always been composed, but there was something different in the way she moved that afternoon, slower, like she didn't want the moment to pass too quickly. We sat across from each other at the small kitchen table and she placed a cup in front of me. "Chamomile with honey." "No need to ask, you remembered," I murmured. Her lips curved slightly. "Some things stay with me for a moment." We didn't speak. The sound of the kettle humming behind us filled the room. Her eyes, green, intelligent, and unreadable, stayed on me. "I always liked you," she said quietly. I met her gaze. "I always wondered if you meant that." I did. There was something in her tone, tired maybe, or honest, maybe both. It pulled at something in me I didn't want to name. "I think I stayed longer with him because of you," I admitted, and immediately wished I hadn't. But she didn't look surprised. She nodded slowly, like she already knew. "I wish," she started, then stopped, stirring her tea without looking up. "What?" I asked, my voice quieter now. "I wish we'd met differently." That made me blink. I wasn't sure if I was reading too much into it or not enough. She stood to refill her cup, walking around the table close enough that I caught the faint scent of her skin. She brushed past me gently, too gently, and paused, fingers resting on the edge of my chair. When she spoke again, her voice was just above a whisper. "Don't be a stranger." I looked up at her. I didn't know how to finish the sentence. She just smiled and walked away. I left a few minutes later, but I didn't go straight home. I walked around the neighborhood first, the box of silence between us echoing louder than anything we'd said that night. I lay in bed thinking not about the breakup or the things I returned or even Liam. I thought about her, the curve of her mouth when she said my name, the softness in her voice when she poured tea, like it meant something. It was wrong, but it didn't feel like it. The next week passed like static flickers of emotion with no real form. I didn't talk to Liam. I didn't want to. I deleted our messages, our photos, but I didn't delete her number. I told myself it was polite, sensible, a formality. Then one afternoon I ran into her. She was standing in the bookstore cafe near campus, flipping through a hardcover novel and sipping from a paper cup. She looked up at the exact moment I saw her, and her smile lit something inside me I didn't know I'd kept alive. "TWE into weeks," She said, her tone playful. Fate or habit? I replied, heart pounding. Sit with me. She said like it was the easiest thing in the world, and I did. We talked for an hour about books, about coffee, about nothing and everything, but beneath the words, something was stirring. Her hand brushed mine when she reached for her bag, and I didn't pull away. She didn't apologize either, and that night, for the first time in a long time, I went to bed smiling, not because I missed Liam, but because I couldn't stop thinking about his mother. And that was the beginning of everything. The text started small, a photo of a novel she found in the cafe after I left. Thought of you, a meme I sent back that made her laugh, or at least say she did. At first it felt harmless, light. We were just two people who happened to have known the same man, right? But then the conversations grew longer. What began as short exchanges turned into full paragraphs. I told her things I hadn't told anyone since the breakup, how hollow it felt, how I'd stayed longer than I should have. She responded with words that didn't feel like sympathy. They felt like understanding. You always deserved more than what Liam knew how to give. One night she called. I don't even remember what excuse she used, something about a song she couldn't get out of her head, and thought I'd like her voice in my ear again. It undid me. We talked until after midnight, then we did it again the next night, and again after that. There was a strange kind of safety in her voice. She spoke softly, like every word had been weighed before being given. She asked questions no one else had asked me, real ones, about what I wanted, what I feared, who I was becoming. I answered honestly, even when it made me vulnerable. Especially then. One night, asked her what kept her awake. She went quiet for a second, then said, regret. I didn't ask what kind. I didn't need to. The next time I saw her in person, it was by invitation. She texted me on a Thursday afternoon. I cooked too much, come eat. I hesitated longer than I should have, then replied, what time? She greeted me at the door in a long oversized sweater and jeans that hugged her hips, no makeup, hair tied back loosely, wisps falling around her face. She looked real humans, a little tired, a little soft around the edges. She smiled when she saw me. You came, you said there'd be food. She laughed and led me inside. The meal was simple: roasted vegetables, pasta, red wine, but it was the way she served it, the way she poured the wine for me first, the way she refilled my glass without asking, like I was someone she wanted to care for. We sat in the dining room, soft music playing somewhere in the background. The lights were dim, the room warm, but the heat that lingered between us had little to do with temperature. She asked me about my art again. I told her about a piece I arrived. The door was already cracked open. I stepped inside without knocking, guided by instinct more than confidence. She was standing near the hallway, leaning against the wall as if she'd been waiting for me to arrive but couldn't bring herself to pace anymore. Her robe was cinched loosely around her waist, the black silk chamisole beneath clinging to the curves I had only dared to imagine until now. Her lips parted slightly when she saw me, but no words came out. I closed the door behind me. The soft click felt like the last tether to anything innocent snapping free. Are you sure? I asked quietly. She nodded once her gaze locked to mine. I've never been more afraid or more certain. I took 3 steps and kissed her. There was no hesitation this time, no edge of restraint, just heat, raw consuming heat. As our mouths collided, she tasted like longing and red wine, and something sweeter like fear. Finally giving up, her arms wrapped around my neck, pulling me deeper, and I felt her robe loosened beneath my hands. It slid from her shoulders and fell to the floor with the softest sigh. She let it. The chamisole beneath did little to hide the way her chest rose and fell, rapid and unsteady. I kissed down her neck, tasting her skin, memorizing the scent I'd been haunted by for weeks. My hands found the hem of the fabric, and I paused. Her fingers found mine, guiding them up under the silk. I don't want to be careful, she whispered. I want you. She let me undress her like I was the one in control, but I wasn't. Every time she arched into me, every soft moan against my mouth, she allowed it. She led with silence and touch, and made me feel like the power was mine, even as she unraveled me. With every breath, we didn't make it to the bed right away. Her back met the wall, and my hands found the curve of her hips, tugging her against me as I kissed her deeper. Her lips trailed down my throat, my collarbone, and I gasped when her teeth grazed skin. I wasn't careful. It wasn't sweet. It was hunger. Tangled, gasping, beautiful hunger. She pulled me by the hand to her bedroom. The light from the hallway danced across her bare back as she crawled into bed and waited, watching me undress like she was memorizing every inch. Her eyes never left mine. I joined her slowly, cautiously, but she pulled me close, hands pressed to my lower back, mouth against my ear. I've wanted this, she whispered. I've wanted you, and I believed her. My fingers roamed her body like I was learning a new language. Her breath hitched when I kissed just below her ribs. Then again as my mouth made its way lower. She was warm and trembling, her thighs parting beneath me as if they already knew me. When I tasted her, she Cried out not loud but real sharp and sudden, her hand fisting the sheets, the other tangled in my hair. Her moans grew desperate, like she'd been waiting too long to be touched this way, like no one had taken the time to make her feel this deeply. I didn't rush her. I wanted her to feel every second of it. Every swirl, every kiss, every slow drag of my tongue that pushed her closer to the edge. She came undone like a quiet storm, her whole body arching as her lips parted in a breathless gasp. Of my name I held her through it, kissing her thighs, then crawling back up to pull her into my arms. Come here, she said softly, her voice still shaking. She kissed me again, slower this time, deeper. She rolled over me, skin to skin, her legs straddling my hips, her breath warm against my cheek. Let me see you. I let her hands slid over me like worship, and when she kissed me again, it wasn't desperate, it was something else, reverent, honest. Her lips tasted like surrender. We moved together in the dark, wordless and breathless. Our bodies met in waves. Soft at first, then harder, sharper, driven by something we couldn't name but didn't need to. Her nails scraped down my back, and I gasped her name into her mouth. She whispered mine back like a promise. When it was over, we stayed tangled beneath the sheets. Her head rested against my chest, her fingers tracing slow circles across my stomach, grounding me to her. I held her hand, pressing small kisses to her knuckles. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Then she whispered, "You feel like home." And all I could think was she felt like a ruin, but I didn't say that. I kissed her shoulder instead, and in the quiet that followed, I let myself believe that maybe somehow we could have both. Morning light filtered through her curtains, pale and gold, falling across the tangled sheets, and the warmth we had created. Her back was to me, the covers slipping low along her spine, the curve of her shoulder bare and vulnerable. I wanted to reach out and trace it, but something stopped me. It wasn't a shame, it was the sinking knowledge that nothing about this could last. She stirred when I sat up, her eyes opened slowly, the green of them still soft with sleep. She smiled faintly, as if unsure whether the night before had been real or some fragile dream she'd forgotten how to hold on to. "Hey," she murmured. "Hey," I said back. Neither of us moved. I thought I might cry, not because I regretted it, but because I didn't, and she looked at me like she was trying to memorize the way I looked in that moment, as if it might have to last her forever. Downstairs, the coffee pot hissed and clicked as it brewed. She handed me a mug in silence, her hands trembling just slightly. I didn't say anything, neither did she. We sipped in separate corners of the kitchen. When her phone buzzed, she flinched. She didn't show me the screen, but I didn't need to ask. I already knew it was Liam. Of course it was. She was still his mother, still tied to a name I used to say out loud with love long before I ever knew how deep hers could reach. "I need time," she said quietly, setting the cup down. "To think, to breathe." I nodded, because what else could I do? "Okay." She stepped forward, wrapped her arms around me gently, and pressed her lips to my cheek. "I won't forget this," she whispered. "I don't think I could if I tried." And just like that, she pulled away. I left without asking when I'd see her again, because some questions are too fragile to survive an answer. Days turned into weeks, then months. I didn't try to reach out. She didn't either, not because we didn't want to, but because we knew what we were would never survive in the daylight, what we had lived in, that delicate, dangerous space between need and consequence. I dated casually, but no one felt like her. No one touched me like they knew my skin before they met it. No one kissed me like they were sorry for everything they'd missed in life. She had ruined me gently, and I had let her. Then one day I walked into a small art gallery tucked into the corner of a street I didn't usually take. A last minute detour, a wrong turn, or maybe fate, quiet and precise. I wandered through the exhibits, stopping at a painting that pulled me in with force. I didn't understand. It was a woman, eyes closed, mouth slightly parted, her body curled inward like a secret. The brushstrokes were wild, layered, intimate. The rawness of it made something in me ache, and in the corner I saw it, her signature V. I turned around, and she was there, Vivian. She stood at the back of the gallery in a long dark coat, hands folded in front of her. She looked older than I remembered, but only by a breath. Her eyes still held that depth, still knew too much. She saw me, and she didn't look away. I walked toward her slowly, unsure. My heart pounded louder with every step. When we were close enough to speak, we didn't. She reached for my hand instead, and in that moment, quiet, honest, soft, I knew some people you don't fall in love with. They just seep into you quietly, until one day they're part of everything you are. She was my ex's mother, a woman I should have let go the moment he did, but something about her, something deeper than desire, stayed with me. She touched me like she'd spent her whole life holding back. And maybe we'll never be something the world understands. Maybe will always live in the spaces between, but even now, when I think of love, I think of her. Tell me, would you have walked away or held on to the one person who saw you even when they weren't supposed to? Let me know in the comments, because sometimes the most unforgettable love stories are the ones no one's supposed to. Oh, was working on a portrait that I couldn't seem to finish. What's missing? She asked. I looked up. I don't know. I think I'm scared to finish it. Like if I do, I won't have a reason to touch it anymore. Her gaze didn't waver. Maybe some things aren't meant to be finished. Just felt that silenced me. Not because I didn't understand, because I understood too well. After dinner, we moved to the living room. The couch was soft, plush. She tucked her legs under herself, her wine glass resting lightly between her fingers. She asked me about Liam, not in a bitter way, just curious. What did you want from him that he couldn't give you? I considered that. Presence, I said finally. He was always around, but never really there. Her lips parted slightly, like she was about to respond, then changed her mind. Instead, she leaned forward, brushing a strand of hair from my face with a feather, light touch. Her fingers paused near my jaw. I'm sorry he didn't see you, she said. I did. We stared at each other for too long. I felt her breath, and I wanted her to kiss me, but she didn't. Instead, she stood slowly, walking toward the kitchen. Dessert? She asked too casually. I nodded, though I didn't care about anything sweet right now, except her. While she was gone, I stared at the cushion where she'd sat. It was still warm. My heart wouldn't stop racing. When she returned, she sat closer, a little too close. Her thigh brushed mine. She handed me a plate, but I barely looked at it. My eyes were on the curve of her neck, the delicate chain that rested above her collarbone. She reached for her glass again, and her hands touched. And this time she didn't pull away. Her fingers curled slightly around mine. It was subtle, barely, even a moment, but everything in me went still. She looked down at our hands, then back up at me. Tell me to stop, she said quietly, but I didn't. Instead, I whispered, if I didn't know better, I'd think you wanted me to make the first move. A beat of silence, her chest rose and fell slowly, then she smiled, soft, dangerous, beautiful. I'm not sure you do know better, she said, and I didn't not anymore. And somehow I knew there was much yet to come. I hadn't planned to see her again that soon, but after that night on the couch, her hand resting on mine, her voice low and dangerous, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Everything she did lingered. The way she looked at me when she thought I wasn't watching, the way she said my name, like it meant something, and most of all, the way she didn't kiss me, even though I knew she wanted to. She texted me the next evening. I have wine and leftover cake, in case you're not over me being a terrible hostess. I stared at my phone for a while before replying. Then I lied to myself and typed I could use dessert. When I arrived, the door was already open. Vivian was in the kitchen, barefoot, her hair half pinned up in a way that let loose strands fall down her back. She wore a soft, wind-cold wrap dress that hugged her waist and hinted at the tops of her shoulders. She turned when she heard me, her smile slow and familiar. You came. I shrugged, stepping inside. I was promised a cake and wine, she added, lifting the bottle and pouring it into the glasses. Wouldn't want you thinking I shortchanged you. We sat at the table again, but this time closer. There were candles flickering. In the corner, the lights dimmed. Music played low, soft jazz, the kind that sounded like velvet. We talked about nothing at first, then about everything. Her past relationships, my worst heartbreaks, what scared us, what we still wanted. Her voice dropped lower as the night went on, every word dipped in something heavier than wine. She was on her second glass when she touched my hand again, absently at first, like a passing thought, but her fingers stayed. I looked down, then up at her. Do you do this often? I asked, my voice quieter than I meant it to be. Invite your son's ex over for dessert and late night philosophy. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Number, you're the first. I don't know why that made my chest tighten. I keep telling myself, this is harmless, she whispered. And do you believe it? Her fingers curled slightly around mine. No, I held her gaze. The space between us crackled. Her lips parted as if to say something else, but no words came. Instead, she stood slowly. Come, she led me to the living room, where a fire flickered softly behind the glass. We sank into the cushion, side by side, knees almost touching. She pulled her legs beneath her and turned toward me fully. I mirrored her heart thudding. Her hand reached for mine again, holding it gently in her lap. Her thumb brushed against the edge of my palm again and again, like a pattern she was memorizing. "Do you think we're both just lonely?" I asked. She exhaled a soft, trembling breath. "Maybe, but I've been lonely before, and this feels different." I searched her face. The tension between us wasn't new, but tonight it felt heavier, like it was begging to be broken. I leaned in slightly. "So did she?" Her hand moved to my thigh. Not high, not inappropriate, but firm, steady. Her eyes flicked to my lips, and when I didn't move away, she closed the space between us. Her forehead touched mine, my breath caught, and just when I thought she would kiss me, she stopped. Her voice was barely audible. "We can't, not yet." I pulled back, slightly confused. "Why not?" Her eyes shimmered, not with tears, but with something deeper. "Fear, maybe, or restraint. Because the moment I kiss you, I won't want to stop. And I can't undo what happens after." That silence settled between us. I didn't move, neither did she. "You think this is a mistake?" I asked. "I think it's the most tempting mistake I've ever wanted to make." She stroked my hand once more, then let it go. The absence of her touch felt like something cold being pressed against my skin. "I should go," I said, though I didn't mean it. She nodded okay, but neither of us moved. It took me another full minute to stand at the door. She followed. Just before I stepped outside, she spoke. "I think about you all the time, that's the truth." I turned to face her, heart aching. "I think about you too." She smiled softly, as if that both comforted and hurt her. "Then we're both doomed." I left into the night, the cool air brushing against my face like a reminder. She almost kissed me. She wanted to kiss me, and I had no idea how much longer either of us could pretend not to feel what was coming next. I hadn't heard from her in 3 days. Not a word, not a text, not even a glance through the echo chamber of social media, where people often pretend to be fine. She had disappeared into silence, and somehow that hurt more than anything she could have said. I told myself I should let it be. That was the last time I stood in her doorway when she whispered, "We can't, not yet," was a warning, not an invitation. But logic had never been strong enough to compete with the memory of her voice in the dark, or the way her forehead had rested against mine like a moment suspended in time. Then, just as the ache began to settle into something cold, her name appeared on my screen. "Come over, please." 2 words. No punctuation, but it felt like a heartbeat. When I